Seneca Wallace. My background is obviously, as people know here in the state of Iowa, as a college athlete. Started off at Iowa State back in 2000 and had a successful career there that led me into being drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. Had a successful 7 years there. Left there, ended up going to the Cleveland Browns. Most people know that as the last stop to nowhere. But I ended up making it out of there, and I ended up going with the Green Bay Packers, signed with them. I became the very first African-American quarterback to start a game with the Green Bay Packers, which was huge. So after that, after my NFL career was over with, it led me into trying to figure out, what I wanted to do post-football, and that was to go into franchise development.
You kind of touched base on a little bit, but my question was, how did you get started, or what inspired you to go into the food and beverage industry after?
So you just have to talk a little louder.
Right, a little louder. I got it. Okay, yeah. What inspired me to go into the food and beverage industry was, as athletes, we try to figure out, we've been successful on the football field, right? We want to figure out what can translate and what can we do after our career is over with to kind of keep our interest. And a lot of that is kind of challenging with the food and beverage industry. But I think you have to find the right franchise to do that. And I think Wingstop provided that opportunity for me. Me growing up, a lot of my life, not growing up in Texas, but spent a lot of my life in Texas where Wingstop started. Started there in 1994, and being around the brand and the culture that they built down in Dallas, I understood what it was about. The product was there. They create a very warming environment for the guests. And, there's a lot of moving parts. It moves quick. And that's something that intrigued me on getting into the food and beverage industry. So, once I started branching out and trying to figure out what franchise I wanted to do, it just made sense for me, Iowa, me having my name and my brand here, and there not being any other wing place, I believe, that can compete with the brand. And so that's how it all started.
How was the transition from living the NFL life to becoming a business owner?
Ooh, the transition of living the NFL life and becoming a business owner was somewhat, I wouldn't say a difficult transition. It was tedious transition on understanding all the different, things that go into franchise development, right? And especially with you not having an understanding, myself, not having an understanding with a background in franchise development. You got to do your research. Obviously, everybody talks about location being a huge part of that. So I had to do a lot of research on coming to Iowa and understanding, I think, what demographic suits Wingstop and the brand. And so, that transition was challenging to me, but that was, again, one of the reasons why I was intrigued about getting into franchise development, coming from the professional side of football and sports. Because we're always, as competitors, trying to figure out a way to keep us competitive and keep us intrigued, keep us dialed in. And doing franchise development and transitioning from the football field into a nice Wingstop polo was one of the things that intrigued me a lot.
What is your position and your thought process on the Black Lives Matter movement?
Man, the Black Lives Matter movement is something that is very dear to me, and I think it's something that I will continue to support. I think it's critical for me, being a successful black man here in Des Moines, Iowa, and quite frankly throughout the country, who has had success on the football field, who's had success on the corporate side of things. I think it's hugely important for me to support that movement because, I've been through a lot of different things in my lifetime where I've been discriminated against, on the football field and off the football field. I go back to an era where, black quarterbacks weren't looked at the same as they were as far as the white quarterbacks go. If you were more athletic in a sense, They felt like they wanted to switch the positions for you and make you a receiver or a running back or something else because they felt like the position was solely for the whites. They were smarter. They could retain information a lot better than we could. And so that's just one piece of it. And then you fast forward to the things off the football field that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And there was something that happened here with the protesters where couple of my windows got smashed out, and I have to support for change. Change has to happen. And if I got to replace a couple windows in my building, you can't replace all the lives that people are losing by the hands of cops and racial stuff that's going on in our country. So I have to support that. We got to make sure that we keep the narrative on changing the lives for blacks from all different avenues of society. It's not just myself. I get looked at differently because I'm an ex-athlete or somewhat of a celebrity in a sense, but that doesn't change the person that might live in the inner city of Des Moines that needs the help and needs the support of someone like myself.
What is your take on professional athletes taking a political stance in height of everything that's going on, and why do you feel like that?
I think professional athletes have to take a political stance because their voices matter. Obviously there was someone who said something very interesting that at this point where we are now, really the streets are talking because, and I think it was Dave Chappelle, he said they didn't want to hear from Dave Chappelle. They don't want to hear from Kevin Hart. They don't want to hear from Ice Cube. The streets are talking now. They're awoke. Because there's things that have been suppressing us and we've had to deal with for so long that I think now the celebrities, we're kind of taking a back seat to this. But we're an extra added support system in a sense where, now we got, the streets are talking, and now we got celebrities and every other athlete from hockey, NASCAR, baseball, football, everybody's standing up. And I think that's what is going to create change, is when we have every race that is supporting the movement and not creating a narrative and saying it's all lives matter or blue lives matter. That's not what we're talking about here. And everybody, and people who have an understanding, they understand what is meant by Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, you're just saying Black Lives Matter. We matter. If you think about it, it doesn't even sound right that we have to create that. But in the sense of things that we've been through in our history, it's something that needs to definitely be changed. So I definitely support every athlete that's coming to the forefront and leading this change.
What do you think the movement should look like for the NFL players? For example, do you think they should not play for a season or collectively walk out together?
Well, you're walking a fine line. Definitely for the sport, for all sports for that matter, you got to handle the situation the right way. And obviously you're talking about a lot of people's livelihoods as well. But I think everybody has to be on the same accord. Everybody has to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we got to do it together. We have to stand together. Because even when you go back to Colin Kaepernick, you didn't have everybody supporting the whole kneeling thing, right? But then you had other individuals creating a narrative on what that whole kneeling was about. And so, but that wasn't the blacks. I think the blacks understood exactly what he was taking a knee for, but you had some white people who were saying you're disrespecting the flag, you're disrespecting our country. But yet at the same time, Colin Kaepernick got this information and this vision from somebody who was in the military and said, hey, I would take a knee. If you want to create an environment and create change, when you're saying our country here is the land of the free and home of the brave and all this other stuff, we say it when we're standing before a game. But in a sense, that's not what's happening. You got black people getting murdered left and right for nothing. So, we're not free. And so when people try to change that narrative, I think everybody collectively have to be, and I think we're at that point now where everybody's like, look, this is what we're going to do, and I think there's no better time for us to do it together.
Well, I was going to touch base on the Colin Kaepernick and kind of bring attention to it, but you already went there.
Yeah.
But he pretty much sacrificed his career.
Colin Kaepernick 100% sacrificed his career, and I think for the better good of our country. And it opened up other avenues for him. It's unfortunate that things had to happen in the NFL the way they did, where he pretty much got blackballed from getting back in the National Football League. But again, in his right and the things that he's going through and what he's created, this is what he was saying years ago. But now the streets are talking. Everybody was still on the fence of, all right, shoot, I want to support this, but man. But now that you have brown, whites, you got everybody supporting this movement now. Now you're looking at Colin Kaepernick like, shoot, he was trying to say he was a genius. Not that he was a genius, not that you haven't had people speaking out on this, but he used his platform that he had to create this and voice his, because you have people who still, Steve Harvey, for example, has a platform, but there's still somebody controlling that narrative on what he speaks about on national television. But when you have an athlete who takes a knee on one of the biggest stages there is in sports, people are going to witness that, and they're going to either go for the good or for the bad.
Yeah. And like you said, there's so many different races right now that is standing up.
Correct.
And it's unfortunate because he was the initial one to use that platform.
Correct.
To bring it out about injustice, about police brutality and things like that. And do you think that the NFL should do something for him now, or at this point it's just
I don't think
an apology or
right? I don't think the NFL, in a sense, should have to do anything for Colin Kaepernick. In a sense, somebody like Colin would probably sit there and say, but will he accept an apology at this point? It's water under the bridge. This is something that he took stance on 3 years ago. Or however long it was, and now all of a sudden there's all this, it's been heightened. Now you want to owe me an apology. It's kind of the same thing where teams are saying that, hey, we're going to give Colin Kaepernick, we're going to sign him now all of a sudden. Okay, it's 3 years removed. You could have signed me years ago. Now all of a sudden that this movement, Black Lives Matter movement, has now created a whole buzz throughout the world. Now all of a sudden you want to sign me. And so I think when you ask, do they owe him an apology or should they do something for him? I think they need to do something for all black players, all, different demographics in the cities that they're in. I think that would be and take more of a, feeling for Colin Kaepernick to say, well, shoot, every team now has a support system in every city that we have an NFL team that we're going to donate or we're going to support the inner city. We're going to do this and that, and have more of a presence when it comes to that. I think that would be more of a thank you to Colin Kaepernick by doing that and taking initiative.
How do you give back to the black community, and how have you promoted change in the community?
Oh man, it's always tough for me, being in Dallas, because I'm an absentee owner here with the Wingstop franchise. But it's funny. My wife was just talking about, me being one of, there's minority quarterbacks that have played the game at a high level, but being able to get back and offer my services to young black athletes that are trying to make it and navigate through trying to make it to college. That's one thing that she wants me to do a lot more of. I think as far as the business side of it, being able to create opportunities for these young African American males and women that are looking to, maybe at some point be a franchise owner. Someone who is looking to, develop, and we got a great leader in Phil Holmes, who could help mold and create an environment for these people where, I don't want anybody working for me who is not looking to succeed this and strive to be somebody great and be somebody better. Just use this as a platform, a stepping stone for where you ultimately want to be. And you know, it's just one of those deals where obviously with Wings, you know, we get a lot of minorities that come and work for us. And so we want to create an environment for them where they can be successful.
So what inspires you to get out of bed each day?
Oh man, my kids. My kids inspire me to get out of bed each day. I mean, I got a 5, 3, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, you know, I got to get up. I got to get to the grind, you know, each and every day, because I think it's important to show and prove. I got to show to my kids that this is how you work, this is how daddy works, because my kids are so young where they didn't get to see daddy play. But, you know, when they're walking around the house, they can see the jerseys and helmets and stuff like that. But in reality, you know, I'm setting them up for the future and building, you know, a big business and empire here in the state of Iowa. So, you know, to be able to get up and kiss them and be able to see them smiling and create an environment where they feel like they're safe. You know, I love it, and I love just being able to navigate through the stuff here at Wingstop, which obviously Phil has done a great job on, you know, kind of keeping that under control, but you know, to be able to conversate with him and see what the ins and outs and see what's going on in the businesses, I love that.
So where do you see Wingstop in the next 5 years?
Where do I see Wingstop in the next 5 years? Being the biggest wing place in the state of Iowa, the destination here in the state of Iowa, being able to, you know, when we talk about the best wing places here in the state, obviously Wingstop is number one. A destination for people who, I mean, obviously we know outside of Des Moines, it's a destination for people who are traveling. Hey, we're going to travel an hour to go get Wingstop. When you've done that and you created that atmosphere for those people that want to drive an hour to come taste your product, you're doing something right. And so we want to continue to keep creating that environment for people. And I think we're there, but we got a lot more work to do and a lot more growth to do.
If you have one message to deliver to individuals looking to follow in your footsteps by starting a business or franchise, what would it be?
Ooh, if I had one message to deliver to anyone out there who is looking to get into the franchise business, I would say do your homework. You got to do your homework. In order to be successful, you got to make sure you understand whatever franchise that is that you want to be part of. You have to do your homework. 2, I think if you're an absentee owner or someone that is not going to be physically in your restaurant, you need to make sure you have a Phil Holmes on deck. And when I say someone like that, that is someone that you trust, that is someone that is going to be an extension of you, that you know that his heart or her heart has the passion and the drive to continue to build growth within your franchise. I think those are 2 of the most important things that I can think of being in a franchise, because operations is key, and just making sure you know everything about your franchise that you're going into. And your product better be good. If your product is not good, it's going to be hard to retain those customers.
Sure. Okay. All right, and my last question for you is, do you have any big plans for your birthday coming up?
Oh. There are no big plans for my birthday in August. Obviously, we're in quarantine, especially in Dallas where I live, you know, COVID is drastically ramping up. So no, I mean, as long as I'm with my kids and my family, everybody's healthy, that's a good birthday present for me. And obviously, 2, business is still striving. We're doing what we're doing. I mean, coming out of this COVID thing even stronger than we did going into it. It's been a blessing within itself. So, you know, knowing I could wake up, I don't know what day my birthday's on, August 6th. I don't know if it's on a Saturday or not, but our weekends, if we continue our growth and our sales on the weekends, that's a great birthday present for me.
Making money.
Yeah.
That's right. All right.
Big Phil, I think it's for you now, man.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That you got the platform, sir. Yeah.
So before you go, what are some of the other things that weren't covered in the questions they think that community members should know?
The community people should know that Wingstop is here to support change, one, with what's going on in our communities, what's going on in our cities, in our states, in our countries. We're here to support anybody, doesn't matter what race, where you come from, what your demographic is. We are here to be part of the community. I think that's one thing that Wingstop definitely preaches about. We want to be able to provide a platform for everyone to, be successful. This is just a stepping ground, like I said before, for those individuals who are looking to get opportunities in the job force, where it's restaurant business, hospitality, anything like that. We're definitely here to support the community. I mean, that's just one thing. We know without the community's support, we wouldn't be able to be successful. So we're definitely here to support the community.